I've enjoyed watching those fields grow all year. And I've got Tom Hoffman. He is the agronomy sales lead for Allied Cooperative out of the Marshfield office. And the growing season, it really is winding down for our corn and soybeans out there. What are you seeing out in the fields?
I think where the crop was planted early and on time, and if we have a good plant population, I think there's still a potential for very good yield, in those areas. I think no different than we've seen most of the year as we go west, the western part of our trade area and western part of the state. I think there's some very good yield potential. And I would say in the north central part where things got planted on time, and if we had a good stand, I think there's still some very, very good potential. Obviously, some of the others that was planted later and had challenges and with wet weather, has been challenged all year, and some of that's, it's not done being challenged. It's only going to be so good. And we all knew that as we were being faced with that in late planting dates. I do think some of this is turning out better than what I thought. Not that it'll be stellar, but I think it's even turning out better than it looked like even as we looked at early and mid-July. So I think there's some reason for optimism there.
What about the disease pressure that you've seen out there?
I think we've had really good environmental conditions for disease pressure. With that being said, I don't know if it's expressed itself as much as some of us had thought it would be at this time. It still could, but I think as the season is progressing, the devastation that it may have isn't quite as bad. And we get into another 10 days or so here, those crops that were planted at a normal time frame and progressed well, it won't be so severely hit, even if it does still express itself. Things like white mold, the tar spot obviously has been a concern, has been diagnosed in areas, but I don't know if I'd say overall we've seen where it's been widespread devastation at this point, and at this point maybe it's not going to be quite as bad. The white mold is showing itself in spots, but again, probably not as early as some years. I think we do see some situations where soybeans in areas where they're shorter, just didn't get as tall, so I think they've been able to, air out, even though we've had wet weather. I think because of the lack of foliage, they've been able to dry out and so forth, so the white mold hasn't been quite as bad.
What about the weed control with the wet weather that we've had this summer?
Weed control's been a bugger. I mean, obviously timing, getting it applied at a correct time has been an issue where we've, with windy weather, wet weather. So there's been a lot of challenges just from that standpoint. But I would say now is a very good time to evaluate what worked, what didn't work, what should I be doing different, what type of weed spectrum do I have, and what should I be doing to deal with that better another year. Ignoring weed pressure or not taking it seriously and adding more weed seed doesn't help another year. So it is a very good time to look at, okay, what broke through. We've had a lot of weed escapes this year, obviously with plenty of moisture and a lack of canopy. It is a very good time to evaluate. What should I do the same or what should I do different?
Are there agronomists from Allied Cooperative available that could come and help us to walk those fields and help us to make those decisions?
Yeah, certainly. I would encourage, we have, our agronomy advisors are very, very well trained, have lots of very good years of experience, knowledge on what we're applying, and give very, very good recommendations to help our producers make a good, conscious, educated, decision in weed control, soil fertility. Another thing is even, to be thinking about as crops get removed, soil sampling. Soil sampling is a very sound science to help determine how much plant food a person would need another season. So again, that's another thing to be thinking about. But yes, our agronomy advisors are very well equipped to help in those decision makings for another year.
It's always good to keep walking out in those fields and get all the help that's needed from Allied Cooperative. And that was Tom Hoffman. He's the agronomy sales lead out of Marshfield. And I'm Jill Welke.